is organization. It's a movement. We're talking about unity. We're talking about unity. So we're aimed to taking down the system of race by educating, enlightening, informing, and positively debating with those who have counterviews.
Welcome to 2021, our first show of the year on Talk About Unity. I'm Richard Jennings, and I am so thankful that we are in 2021. We made it. We made a come sliding in with our motor smoking and our tires are bald and the doors are hanging, got dust and scratches all over our vehicle. But we made it, Carlin. We're here.
Hey, glad to be here. I'm Carlin Charleston, and it is time for Edge Radio's Talk About Unity. And we're really ready to get to some talk about unity because we got to get to that walk about unity. And that's really the plan for 2021. We had a tumultuous year, as some would call 2020, but it was actually a great time for us to realize what we need to do to come together and make some positive things happen in this country. And so that's what we're here to talk about on Talk About Unity today. So Richard and I are going to we're going to talk about some of the things that happened in 2020 and how can we make a change so that 2021 becomes better, not just differently, just different, because things can be different and not better.
That's right.
And so I would like to remind people that 2020, some people characterize as a bad year, but it could always be worse. Yeah. So you have to do something. You have to make a change to make 2021 a better year.
That won't be hard to do.
Hey, it's going to be an attitude thing, so we'll see. All right. Oh. And so one of the things, though, when we talk about unity and how it becomes a walk about unity, it really does mean make a change. It means we got to go from the articulating and the rhetoric and the theory of what unity is to action. And that's what the walk is about. And so when we come to this show each week, we're talking about how do you take the current circumstances that we're facing and how do we bring about some unity? What does unity look like, and how does unity walk? How does unity walk? How does it become action? And so for E.R.A.S.E, we got some things that we're going to talk about doing in the coming year where we actually put some feet to that talk. Yeah. And we go out, and then one of the things you and I first started talking about, we were talking about how can we make a difference in the lives of some of the young people that are behind us. We talk about mentorship and doing some of those things. So those are some of the things that we want to actually have some plans for in 2021 to make happen. In addition to that, one of the things that we're doing at E.R.A.S.E in 2021 is we're going to go around the country and we're going to try to start with churches getting men to come together and say, let's intentionally meet with people that don't look like us. Yeah. Intentionally, because if we don't do anything else, then we'll continue to hang with the people that we always hang with. Yeah. And that means our society will continue to stay in the same situation it already is. And our situation is that we don't have enough interaction with other people, so we have to stereotype them. I don't know Richard very well, so I have to talk about people that have the same skin color like Richard, and I can characterize him a certain way, but I don't have to meet Richard and know him. I can talk about Richard without knowing him. That's
so unfortunate.
So we got to get beyond that. So that's some of the stuff that we're going to do as we begin walking about unity. And we got a lot of issues that we can cover. So let's talk about some of the stuff from 2020 and the things that we want to talk about this morning. What do you think? What are some of the things that we need to cover?
I just say what you just said. Is so important. It was in my message on Sunday in the Vision Cast for 2021, and statistics say that the American church is the most segregated place in America on Sunday morning. And then I said, it's that way on Sunday because it's that way Monday through Saturday. We have to be more intentional about getting outside of this normal, because it's not normal. I mean, we need to look past if you want what you've always had, just keep doing what you've always done. But if you want something different, you have to do something different. So that just and that's what I said, open up your eyes, open up your ears, open up your heart, and just be intentional about sharing life with everybody.
Well, what about I had this one graphic one time that I posted, and it had people integrated crowd coming out of the club, and then they were going to church, and they went into separate. Then it's segregated there.
There's that piece too.
Yeah.
I don't know why church would be that way. Well, it's probably some long-standing perceptions.
It's like you said, if you do the things you've always done, because think about it, historically we were segregated.
Right.
Rape, slavery, and all that stuff, we were segregated, separated. People based on skin color, subjugated, and all that stuff. Well, did we ever change the behaviors that created that segregation? And the question is, I think we did in some ways, and so in essence, we did. We started providing institutions where people could be integrated. Some of those institutions kept their old ways and said, no, we still. And for the biggest part, in communities and where we lived, kind of stayed segregated, and we had I remember they call it white flight, when they'd say when the quote unquote blacks move into a neighborhood, then it's not long before the whites start moving out, then more blacks move in.
There goes the neighborhood.
They call it white flight.
Yeah,
So I think the only answer to that is,
true.
What is going to make us desire to live amongst each other, to care about each other? And, we race, we are like, we got to begin meeting each other.
Yep.
Because I would live next to Richard. Richard wouldn't have any problem living next to me. Would you, Richard?
No, absolutely not.
I barbecue a lot. That smoke might get
No, I would say it's dinner time.
So we got to do some of those things. We really got to break down some of those walls of that prevent us from wanting to live with each other. Then we can begin worshiping with each other, working with each other, just hanging out with each other. Like you and I, if everybody was me and Richard,
oh, come on.
Then life would be really good.
Well,
but they're not.
Wait, we got our issues too. But
I hate tall people. I hate tall people. So that's our issue. I hate tall people. So
people over there. let me just say this. I think one of the things you just touched on is so important is that we need to capitalize on the things that are already working. You let that momentum build in other parts of our life. And when our kids play sports, volleyball, basketball, football, it was the spectrum of humanity out there on the field. But when we go home to our, like you said, your neighborhoods or our churches, then all of a sudden there's this parting of the ways, and it shouldn't be. It really shouldn't be. And so I think in church today, there's been a move towards small groups, or life groups, small groups, whatever it is, different pockets of connection, whether it's the Monday night football small group and the guys get together and eat nachos, play dominoes, and watch TV and have a little halftime, prayer time or whatever it is, or the ladies do stuff. The river chicks is what we call our girls, but our
sounds like a music group.
Yeah, right, almost. The Monday Night Football, my best friend runs that one, and there it is because it is sports related. We take the momentum from having sports in our life to these are guys are a part of my football fantasy football team, or we play football or we play baseball, so we're sports connection. Then all of a sudden, the way we want to see the church is already existing in a way in our church, but in our small group. So we just need to continue to build on that momentum. And I really hit it pretty hard on Sunday. And so here's the vision that we have to have is we have to fix this segregation, in our church. Don't get me wrong. I mean, we're a whole lot better than the way we used to be, but we can be a whole lot better than we are now too. And so I talked about the protocol when I get stopped by the police. We've had this conversation. Hey, this is what you do. Hands on 10 and 2, turn the radio off, roll your window down, interior lights on. If you have your weapon, set it on the dash, and then license and insurance is there, and say yes sir, no sir, yes ma'am, no ma'am, and roll down your window. If they ask you to get out of the car, get out of the car. You may be terrified. And then I said this: if they arrest you for no reason, they take you to jail, go for the ride. And I said, I promise you this, I will pay your bail. If you obey yourself, I will bail you out. I will come get you. And they were laughing, they were clapping. But really, we have to break down some of these things. Let people know, I got your back. Just do the right thing. Don't harass the officer. Don't take off running. Don't, whatever you do, don't reach in your pockets. I don't care who you are. You can't do these things. And just the light went off in a lot of people's eyes. Like, you know what? I'm not in this thing alone. There's other people different than me that want to help me. So, and it's not just me. There's a lot of people that want to help people not be scared on police stops. It's just one thing. So
I wrote a blog post about that a while back, talking about why I'm not scared of police stops,
Right.
and you know, and I think it goes back to our fundamental issue that we talk about relationships, building relationships. Depending on the relationships you've got with people, when you encounter a police officer, you're going to think a certain way.
Yep.
And I think that is going to be based on previous interactions, relationships you've built. And if you've got those, you're not paranoid. And so I know people are paranoid. Maybe they're watching the news, and maybe they've never had a negative interaction, but they see the stuff on the news and they got this hype. But I think it boils down to this relationship thing. Get an opportunity when you see a police officer, engage them, talk to them, build relationships. And that has not to do with just police officers, it has to do with human beings. Get more personal with people, build relationships, and you'll find out that we're humans. Yeah. We're all humans. Yeah. And that person, they put on their pants the same way that you do. They breathe like you do. You'll find that thing. And I think that's one of the things that we talk about at E.R.A.S.E when we talk about humanizing people. As we talk about humanizing people, it's very important that we begin seeing people that are just like us. Yeah. You know, that we're all made in the image of God. And so that's one of the things we're going to do. And so when we come back from break, we're going to go on break. So we're going to talk about some of those things. We're going to humanize.
Yes.
Because I care about Richard, and I'm going to say, Richard, tell me how your Christmas was. Tell me. And we're going to ask some of these questions, and we'll go through that for a little bit and talk about some of these things. Just as an example, of course, I do want to know also, but as an example of how you interact with people when you're in a relationship. So we're going to take a break here, and we'll come back, and we'll cover some of those things as we continue to talk about unity in 2021. We got a lot to talk about, so we'll make that happen in just a second, as soon as we come back. Don't push me because I'm close to the edge.
I'm trying not to lose my head.
Hey, this is the Talk About Unity show where I bring the talk.
And I bring the unity.
And together we talk about unity. Unity is what matters. Come on. And right now in our country, that's what we've got to do. So we do that here at Talk About Unity on the Edge Radio Network. Be with us every week.
It's going to be awesome. It always is. And I tell you what, the more we seek first to understand, then be understood, we make progress.
And we like to do that. And that's why everybody's on the brink. We love what we do at Edge Radio because everybody's on the edge. We bring them back from the edge and we bring the unity. So we're just glad to Edge Radio Network every Tuesday morning, 10 a.m. Talk about unity because here at Edge Radio Network, truth still matters. Welcome back to Talk About Unity, our first show here in 2021, and we're excited to be here in 2021. Everybody's excited to be leaving 2020.
Yes.
But we're endeavoring to make 2021 a much better year, and we're going to do that by not just talking about unity, but putting some feet to it, and then we'll walk about unity. And so one of the things we do, as we left before going on break, we talked about how we really have to spend more time engaging in real relationships. And so this is the thing that you really should come natural. I'm a people person. I've always been a people person.
Right.
I love talking to people, dialoguing with people. So it's very natural for me. But for some people, that's not that natural, and especially when they meet other people. And so it's easy for me to, and Richard and I have been in a relationship for so long, it's easy for me to do this thing that I'm going to do now. But I want to use it as an example for the way that people should begin interacting with even strangers, what you might call a stranger. Go up and talk to them. And so, but Richard, so, really, I want to know this. So this is just more than an example. I really want to know. How was your Christmas? What did you do for Christmas? What did you do for New Year's? Tell me some stories, man.
Well, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year. It was fantastic. Our Christmas Eve service, man, we were jammed. I mean, it was awesome. I mean, I thought, because you don't know what to expect.
Right,
you think, oh, it's going to be us and our family and maybe 5 other people. No, we're jammed up in there. Wow. And it was so cool. It was so great. And then, so we did that. And then we were inside,
right?
Inside. And it was the candle lit. It was amazing. And then so
how do y'all do mask or y'all social distance, or do you say is it up to people?
It's up to the people.
Okay, that's cool.
Act like you got some sense. Don't. And we're hey, lay back on the hugging stuff. Come on. We'll do that later.
Okay.
And so the people that are immune compromised, we have a separate auditorium, not an auditorium, but a nice room with controlled lighting and sound and air conditioning, and so that if you're in that room, you got to wear a mask. And so some others, if they felt like people were too close, then we opened everything up in the lobby so that there was all video screens in the lobbies as well. So everybody was comfortable and no one left. And it was just a great time. But as far as personally, it was the road trip. Went to, Mom had a bunch of trees that we needed to cut down. So for Christmas, I thought, let's go do this. So had the chainsaws buzzing.
How far is the hill country from here?
Hill country is driving. It's about 5 hours. It's an hour and a half on the other side of San Antonio, northwest of San Antonio.
Wow. Yeah. Wow. Oh yeah. That's beautiful.
Oh man, hills. And, so Mom's in Corpus Christi, and then for between Christmas and New Year's, we were in the hill country. And we got snow, about an inch and a half of snow. Nobody really even saw it coming. We knew it was going to get into the Pecos area down in the big hills. But no, we didn't think it was going to come. And when it came, I mean, it was golf ball size snow. And the horses went crazy and the animals were running around. It was so much fun. But there was something really cool that happened. We're talking about being intentional. So getting ready to come home, there was I was wearing my rubber boots and my jeans and my hat and just finished feeding the horses.
Just a good old boy.
Yeah. I'm in the truck. I'm in the muddy truck. And so getting ready to go wash the truck and get gas. And I'm at the gas pump. And this gentleman pulls up next to me on the other side. And obviously, in the environment I come from, people from all over the world, when I was in the computer manufacturing business, I can pretty much nail it close what geographical area they came from. And he was obviously dressed like he's not from America. And so I picked up pretty quick that he was Middle Eastern, but I couldn't really nail down exactly where until he spoke. And I knew he was from India because we've done missions work in India. So I picked up his dialect real quick. And I said, how are you doing? You enjoying the hill country? Did you like the snow? And he went from looking at me terrified, because apparently everybody else in the town was kind of looking at him this way too. I mean, this town is demographics of 85%.
They look like you.
Extremely white. Way whiter than me.
There are no white people. Do you mean they look like you?
No. Way more white than me. But then 15%, maybe even 20% Hispanic. And then if there is a black person, it's maybe 5 to 10 people in the entire county. But this gentleman wearing what he was wearing and obviously looking Middle Eastern, I think he probably got a lot of scowls, looks, maybe even feel thoughts of, or people looking at him anxious or angry or confused or whatever. And so when I approached him, I saw him, and that's the thing. We need to see people.
Right.
When I saw him, he was. And I said, "How are you doing? You enjoying the hill country? You know, did you like the snow?" And all of a sudden, there's a smile on his face, and we got into talking about, you know, he's, what do you do?
All right, so you started relationship building.
Yeah.
That's
and
good.
then of course he's a Microsoft engineer, and was so thankful that he had an opportunity to see the hill country, and the look on his face after we engaged in conversation. I think it changed his day.
And you stayed there through New Year's. Were you there still through New Year's?
Well,
what did you do for New Year's?
When so I've been driving so much. We were in the hill country on New Year's, and saw the non-ball drop. Right? It was
what happened? I didn't know about that.
On TV.
New York?
Did you see any of it? I mean, it was
What happened?
sad. I mean,
you mean because there were no people there?
No people there.
Oh.
There's no people there, and of course San Antonio has a feed for what they do, and it was just sad. I mean, great fireworks, you know, but
hey, we're in pandemic.
2021. I'm so glad we're in 2021. So. Great time, great friends, great connection.
Was it just you and the Queen of Spring, or did you have any?
Had two
more family?
My kids, and of course my in-laws and my sister-in-law, and we hung out a little bit, and then headed back, and it was Sunday was not near as packed as it was Christmas Eve, but it was good.
Yeah,
it was good. Yeah. So cool. How was your holidays?
Oh, it was great. I mean, I did basically stayed home with the wife, you know, which is really cool, you know, because and you know, she's, even with her diagnosis of cancer, life was really good. I mean, because one of the things we did when she was first diagnosed, and she had an opportunity to have her cancer surgery right before Christmas. Yeah. And I said, let's put it off. Let's put it off. Let's go through Christmas. Let's feel the season, and then let's go. And so I think that was a good decision, because we had a great time. Daughter came down with her husband and child, and we spent some time with them and whatever. And so it was really just a great time, a very tranquil time. Not too many people. We did have some other friends who came from Florida. A good couple who came and stayed with us, Spencer and Dodie. And man, it was just good time, refreshing, which I think a holiday should be. It should be refreshing, you know, especially when you're talking about the birth of Christ. I mean, it should be very refreshing. And so it was. So we were energized, and we're ready to go. We're ready for 2021.
Yes.
Bring it on. Bring it
go.
on. All right. What about any of the sports? You watch any of the sports that were happening during the break and all that stuff?
The Texans aren't playing. So, you know, I mean, they're looking bad. And then the Rockets are fighting with each other.
Let's talk about the Texans. I mean, for a second here, just a second. The Texans. What's the future, man? I mean, that's everybody's big question. You got arguably one of the top 3 quarterbacks in the NFL.
Yeah, and the stats.
And he doesn't have the team around him to take them to the promised land, which is where they need to go. So what do they do?
Man,
what do they do? They weren't bad enough to get the number 1 pick, or to get a team changing pick. What do they do?
You know, okay, can I tell you what I want?
What you want? Yeah,
I want somebody to make it rain on Dabo Swinney. He's the coach of Clemson, right? Okay, so we're not going to have any draft picks. And so all the number 1s are going to get picked up in the first round. And we don't have a first round. We have, I think, a late second or third round.
I don't know.
But Dabo knows who the number 2s and number 3s and the good number 4s are at Clemson.
Oh, that's what you're saying.
So he knows what he can work with. And Dabo was Deshaun's college coach. So there's this rapport and connection. So we're going to have to I hope we get a solid top 5 college coach that knows his team, and with the rapport he's going to be able to pull them here. Probably outside of the draft. Probably outside.
What's going to happen with J.J. Watt? I mean, is J.J. Watt going to want to leave?
Well, I saw yesterday they asked the question. He says, I just don't know. There's so many variables. And he laid into the team a few times with the press, at a press conference. And he wants to win. He puts everything into it. And there's some folks on the team that just don't have that same heart. I think a good coach.
So you got an offensive player you can build around. You got a defensive player you can build around. Yeah. They need a builder.
Yeah.
Eric,
be an enemy. We need that.
Then you think,
I hope. I mean, that's coach. If it's not Dabo, which I'm only reason why I'm saying him is because of his connection with Deshaun already and the other guy, the guys from the team.
He probably would have to take a pay cut. I think they pay him so much.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. You got to make it rain. You got to make it rain.
He makes a ton.
But Eric, and he's got a brilliant football mind. It's time for him. It's time for him. So
all right. So wow. So that's our sports take, man. All that stuff. Of course, and I'm Houston, but I'm actually a Cowboys fan, and so I love
the Cowboys too. I'm allowed an AFC and an NFC. Those are my two teams. It's always been that way. People can't stand it.
I tell you what, I don't know. Maybe we'll get. I don't know. They got issues too. Dak Prescott. What's going to happen with him? So
well, you need to go play. But with your keto,
oh my goodness,
good, man.
I told somebody I want to get this job called the psych coach. The psych coach, because I can mentally get players ready. I can motivate them. I can give them the right word, whatever. But strategy, I'd be like, I don't know about strategy these days because it's so crazy now.
Yeah.
But I can tell them what they shouldn't be doing.
Yeah.
I could after I watch the game. All right. So did you eat a lot, eat little? How was
man,
eating
I'm
during
telling
the break?
you, I knew I was
Speaking of keto, I got a show coming on, or I got my Facebook Live every Tuesday at 6 p.m. that I'm doing on Facebook Live. I guess I'll do it on Zoom. And so this is another pitch. If you want some knowledge on health and fitness, I got tons.
Yes.
I got some newfound knowledge from doing this keto thing that is really foundational. I mean, I got some good stuff. So I'll be talking about that.
Yeah.
Okay.
So the whole keto thing, I know how to do it. We've done it in the past. I love it. I don't know why I get off of it, but I knew I was going on this. I'm on a 21-day prayer and fasting thing right now, and so I knew I wasn't going to eat any more sweets. Well, these ladies always bake me these giant pans of brownies and different flavored brownies. I didn't even know they had 30 different flavors of brownies. Anyway, I'm like, hey, this fast is over, and I do not want to see these brownies. So I eat a half a pound of brownies. I was like, it broke me from ever wanting to eat the last brownie. I was like, I'm never going to eat one of these again. But it's
we always
good,
say that
right?
at the end.
Yeah, and so now I'm gonna the keto fast as well.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I've lost 10 pounds. It's not hard. Listen, now we're the spokespersons for keto, right?
Hey,
and it works.
Yeah,
it works.
You're right.
And it's not hard.
It really isn't. I mean, so
went to Perry's last night and got the big giant pork chop, and it was nothing but meat. It's like, yeah, I'm a carnivore.
Yeah, and if you're a carnivore, keto, and I'm a carnivore. So, but I was a bread fanatic prior too. I mean, like I said, my record at Texas Roadhouse was 22 of those rolls. I ate 22 one day, 22, and I'll never ever break that record. I can't get back to breaking that record. So the stuff that I'm going to talk about on my fitness show, which Oscar's going to have me on Natural Nation one of these days so I can talk about this stuff, whatever. So I'm going to talk about that stuff. So if you go on my Facebook page, you can get me to send you the link so you can tune into that at 6 p.m. But I'm not here to make that pitch. I'm here to talk about unity, and we're going to do that after we come back after this break because we're just catching up on our 2020 vacation time. When we come back, we're going to talk about some real stuff. We got politics and stuff to talk about. Trump called Georgia Secretary of State, so we got some real stuff to talk about, talking about unity. We'll be back after this break to talk about real stuff. See you then.
We work our whole lives to support our families. With one accident or illness, it can all be gone in an instant. Now there's a smart, affordable way to protect your family. Go to findhealthbenefits.com and discover low-cost life insurance for as little as $2 per month. Add to that a tax-deferred annuity that can help you protect your assets and grow your money for retirement. Learn more. Go to findhealthbenefits.com. or call 877-235-6094. A critical illness can strike without warning and wipe out your life savings. In fact, it's the #1 reason for bankruptcy. Find Health Benefits offers an affordable solution. Get up to $50,000 if you get cancer, stroke, or a heart attack, giving you the peace of mind to focus on getting better while the plan helps you to pay your bills and medical expenses. Learn more. Go to findhealthbenefits.com or call 877-235-6094. 66% of seniors spend more time shopping for cable TV than Medicare plans. Most say because it's just too confusing. Laws change every year. The wrong plan could cost you thousands and prevent you from seeing the doctors you want. Introducing FindHealthBenefits.com. Save time, save money, see specialists without referrals. Go to FindHealthBenefits.com or call 877-235-6094 for this informative brochure.
Society is on the edge. Let's bring them back. Edge Radio, because truth still matters.
And we're back. And all right, we're back at Talk About Unity. And now we got some real issues we're going to talk about. We've heard about Richard going up there and hanging out in the snow when everybody else was down below in the valley, you know. So he was like, you know, we were like in Whoville, you know. Kind of in Whoville, the stuff's happening. Did you watch The Grinch, by the way, during the break?
You know,
you didn't watch The Grinch? Man, then you're a Grinch if you didn't watch The Grinch.
I saw parts of it. It was on the screen. Go.
All right, I'm off track. It's my fault. All right, I'm asking him to go. All right, so let's get into these real issues. These are the things that we need to resolve. And here's the thing. Each American citizen, you got to be about unity in 2021. What makes for unity? And I think that's understanding. So let's talk about some of these controversial issues. Let's get into the political realm here. Let's talk about the phone call that Trump made, which is now the big news item. And let's talk about where we go from that. We're going to give you all some solutions, so pay attention closely. Okay? So Trump makes a phone call. He calls the Secretary of State of Georgia. And he says, you need to find 11,780 votes. I think it's 780, because he lost by 11,779. Or it might be 749 and 750 or something like that. But anyway, he lost by 11,700 something votes. And he told the Secretary of State, you need to find one more than that number, 11,780 or whatever. And the Secretary of State said, that can't happen. He said, we've done the right thing, we've checked, and there just are no votes that are still out there. And Trump just continued to say, yeah, but you could say that you re-examine it. He was telling him what he could say. Now, of course, the other side is now saying, you know, we should file criminal charges. We should file impeachment charges. And so you got that whole thing happening again. And so for a guy like me who sits in the middle, and I say, all right, the question is, how can we move on? So what do you think? What do we do? How can we just move on? Because I think that's what we need to do. This is another one of those distractions that the American people can all be focused on while pandemic is happening, economic crisis is happening, and you know all these things are happening, and we get focused on these sideshows. How can we move beyond this?
Well, I think, and I would never, ever dare to try to psychoanalyze the president or anyone. That's not my lane. That is not me. But I think part of what is bringing this about is the vote by mail, all finding
election reform.
Yeah, that's it.
That's what we need.
The whole finding all these extra, and after half the team goes home, then they find all these ballots, and half of what's being said isn't even true. So in his head, he's thinking, hey, if they can find ballots, we can find ballots too. Hey, find ballots. Yeah. No. Regardless, I think what the officials in Georgia did, was that in Georgia?
Yes.
Yeah. What they did was the right thing. Hey, we're done with this whole counting thing. I think the statistics are somewhere in the neighborhood of 70% of people think that there was some election improprieties.
Which would probably be true at any election, from any election, because we've been that way for a while. That's why election reform should become a number one thing. There it is. But we got to, move forward.
There is a word that's in the community now, and you're starting to see it more and more on social media, on television, through email feeds, and it is called federalizing the election. And that's a standardized election process across all 50 states. Now, I think we'll probably see traction on the presidential race because of all the lawsuits that was filed, and they claimed that President Trump didn't have standing because it wasn't,
Right.
That he just didn't
Right.
have
He didn't-
jurisdiction
yeah.
or
Yeah,
whatever
that
it
makes
was.
sense.
So, but if they federalize it and every state has to handle voting a certain way, then there's no shell game that you can play.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I hope we get there, because at the end of the day, when we finish, move past an election, everybody should say, "Hey, the candidate I won, and it was fair," or the candidate that I was for lost, but it was still fair. Because right now there's, it's a powder keg. Not just a political, but an American powder keg. If people think that the person they voted for,
so
was
let's go to
cheated
that.
on,
Let's go to
right?
this one. Let's go to this next one.
Go.
We got our slide with the election in Georgia that's coming up. And so, all right. So how is that? Because one of the things that's ironic about this whole thing is while President Trump has been going about talking about election fraud, he's kind of put himself between a rock and a hard place, because he's talking about election fraud, which is what makes people in Georgia believe then that the election is going to be fair, and what would make them vote if they feel like they were just defrauded, because they've got that whole, Trump's got his whole stop the steal and all that stuff. So is he working against himself? He's telling people, go to the polls, vote, but by the way, your vote is meaningless.
Yeah, well, I think it's
it's
the fight or flight kind of response. There's some people that are going to have the attitude, what's it going to matter anyway? On the other hand, there's some people who's like, well, you know what? The one thing I know I'm going to do is I'm going to go make my vote matter in this election.
So what do you think is going to happen here in Georgia? What do you think? What's your prediction? You're a pastor. You got to be a prophet.
Yeah, okay.
I'm trying to
let me see. No, Georgians aren't like Texans. They are different. So it's
Texans.
I know Texans. They're going to jump
We know
out there,
Texans.
and hey, they're not afraid of stealing a cannon or whatever it is they need to do. But I do think that based on early voting, this is going to be a huge turnout. And there's going to be a big push. I don't know if you heard about the whistle strategy. You hear about the whistle strategy? So there's people that are going to be watching where they're counting the votes, and if they see any kind of improprieties, not allowing election poll watchers to make sure everything's done right, they're blowing whistles just blowing whistles like crazy, trying to garner attention from the media, and everybody's filming it. So that's one of the things.
Who came up with that?
I don't know. It was on the news. It was on I saw it 3 different places this morning that there really is a push to make sure that there's no cheating in this particular these Senate races.
Seemed like it would be poetic justice for us to have, because of the way we've been so divided since I guess 2016. Really, we've been so divided, half and half, that it would probably be justice for one Democrat to win, one Republican to win. That would show our nation how divided we are. It's like that's what happens on everything. We're so divided.
Some of my Republican friends will hate me for this by saying this. To me, it doesn't matter if a Republican or a Democrat wins, and they'll say, well, what's hanging in the wings if Republicans don't win. I understand that. My heart is, and the reason why I say it doesn't matter is I just want the will of the people in Georgia to take place. I just want it to be clean. I want it to be fair. And at the end of the day, the will of the people elected who they wanted as their senators. That's what I really want.
And that's good. The reality is, I think it comes from a position of empowerment. If you are relying on, if your only hope is in the people that you elect to office for your efficacy or for your ability to get things done, for your power, then you're kind of at their whim. You're there already. You need to be in a position where you are responsible for what's happening. And so, you'd like to have something happen. You'd like to have maybe a Republican majority in the Senate, or maybe some people want that Democratic majority. Gosh, we got to be beyond that. And that's where we talk about unity, and what we're doing here at Race gives people that sense of empowerment where it becomes you. Yeah, those things can matter, and you can have input into that. We have processes so you can have input in that. But we've got to, in day-to-day interactions with the human beings that are in our lives, the people that we interact with, we've got to make things happen there. And we would feel more powerful.
Yes.
And we wouldn't feel like we're at the whim of every politician that we put in office.
Do you remember all of the video after the last election when Trump won? The liberals were screaming,
crying, and
the world is coming to an end. This is going to be so terrible. This is going to be so bad. And oh no, I mean the newscasters I thought they were going to throw a hammer through the camera screen, and the world didn't come to an end. It wasn't. It maybe for some it was. I don't live in everybody's world, so maybe it was worse for them than we realized. But it didn't turn out bad. And so here's my encouragement, my challenge to everybody during this time: if your candidate or candidates or party didn't win, you don't need to lose your mind. You don't need to run around and act like the world's coming to an end. What you need to do, if you feel like you're right, that you need to go build relationship and communication and have a conversation and even a respectful debate as to, hey, you're not thinking straight regarding voting this way because these are the things that are at stake, or whatever it is. And there with that dialogue, hearts and minds can change. And you may find out there's some things that you're all for and that you're all about. You may find out through an intelligent conversation that A, you got some blind spots. B, you just might be wrong.
So what do you think is going to happen with the election getting confirmed tomorrow? Tomorrow they're supposed to be, of course, confirming the election. What do you think is going to happen there at the end of that?
I think there's going to be some surprises.
There are those 13 senators, GOP senators, have already said that they're going to vote against confirming.
Yeah, and I think that's building, and I'm conflicted with all of that. My whole thing is, how did we get here and why did we get here in the first place? Because this is not how it's supposed to be. But there's a reason for these constitutional amendments. This is not the first time something like this has happened. It only takes one senator and one House of Representative to start this process of the non-confirmation of the electoral vote. So I don't know. I mean, we're headed into uncharted territory for about the past. Well, we haven't seen this in 100 years. So this, I don't think it's going to be fun. Tomorrow is not going to be a fun day. You say, well, what if it goes this way or that? It doesn't matter. There's going to be people on both sides of this thing that are going to have their hair on fire. So, good time to pray if you're a praying person. Yeah.
All right, great. All right, so we're going to take a break here, and we come back. We're going to come up with some ideas as we begin to close out our show. We're going to come up with some ideas for, people have New Year's resolutions. We have new things that we want to see done, because resolutions, that's a very personal thing for you. You can have your resolutions, but we're going to talk about some things that we want to see done as soon as we come back, as we close out our show. And we'll be back right after this. And welcome back. And we've done a lot of talk today on Talk About Unity. And man, we've done a lot of talk. And it feels like we kind of been treading water, right? So we're going to move forward because we think that we talked about walking about unity. And so there's some things that we want to see happen. Everybody comes up with their New Year's resolutions. These are the ideas that each person has about how they're going to make things different in 2021. So we've got we can call them New Year's resolutions, or we can call them ideas or actions that we want to see take place in 2021. And so So we'll go back and forth, and let's talk about a few of these things that you want to see happen. That,
Okay.
whether it's you making it happen or you praying to make it happen, so that God does things. So tell us. So give us one, Richard. What is your first one? What is one of the things you want to see happen?
And it's one that we've already been working on, but we really together as a country need to really focus on the division. There's so much division in our country across cultural, political, every line you can imagine. There's just way too much of it. And I think if we can move towards just being fully present and to see people, not see past people, not see around people, but just to see people. The example of the gentleman at the gas station, it changed his day. I don't know if it changed his life, but it changed his day. And when you see people and you're fully present, hopefully that enters into a conversation. And the more we can talk about things and just be honest and respectful, we're going to make progress. And just include people in your world that have not historically been in your world in the past. I don't think it's a far leap. I really don't. I think we're going to make some great progress.
So his first one is unity.
Yeah.
We need to create some unity and do things. And here's my first one. I'm always, people get on me for thinking way too far outside the box. And they say I'm not a realist. Who would want to be a realist? No. Somebody's got to have fantasies about crazy stuff that's never happened. Somebody's got to imagine that stuff. All right. So mine is, my goal for 2021, which I'll have for the rest of my days, I guess, will be getting political parties banished. And it kind of goes along with what you're talking about. One of the things I think reason we have so much division is that we put these labels on groups of people and then we begin characterizing them that way. And then we don't want to be a part of who they are because we're in another group. So political parties have been bad for us from the founding of our country. I think they've served no really good purpose other than to divide people by ideology. And I think we'd be a lot more united if we, in fact, did do away with those political parties. So that's my big one. That whatever I do, I'll always think, let's do away with political parties. Do away with them. Just no good for us.
Instead of the cancel culture, why not the reaffirm culture?
Yeah.
Hey, you be you. You don't have to think exactly like me.
That's a good one. You should have made that one of you. Yeah, that's a good one.
Okay, so
all right. So number two. What's your number two?
My number two, which really is probably the most passionate thing I'm about right now, is the end of the sex slave industry. People don't realize how bad it is. But it is horrible, and it's organized crime. It's in every city. Houston's bad. I don't. There's the guy who is the county commissioner of where we are in Harris County, Precinct 4, Jack Cagle. When he entered into office, people don't know this. Most people don't know this. 850 businesses that were related to the sex slave industry got shut down off of 1960 in 1 year, his first year in office. I mean, he went through that street like walking tall. I mean, he went in and just shut it down. It was the number 2 street in the United States for illicit sexual oriented businesses. He shut them down. And man, I just want to see it come to an end. And there's amazing. A lot of pieces to that. There's a lot of pieces to that. And so the one thing that we all can do is just be fully present. And when you see a lady acting different, you see there's something just not quite right with the picture, be fully present and maybe move into that a little bit. Just be careful because, there's other people that aren't really looking out for her best interests because she's actually, or her, it's a commodity, and so it's dangerous. But that's one of my prayers. Been that way for a long time. Actually, involved in some nationwide, international organizations as well that are really combating it. A21 is a beautiful organization.
That's pretty interesting, and I think because I've been living here in Houston for a little while now, and I didn't know some of those things that you talked about.
Yep.
And so there needs to be, I think, some awareness raised so that more regular Houstonians can understand how big Houston is into that. Because wow, that's amazing.
Better than it was, but we still got a long way to go.
Got a long way to go. Yep. Well, that's cool. All right, cool. And my second one is the thing that we talked about earlier in the program. We talked about one of my first initiatives with Erase Race is to get churches to embrace this idea of erasing race, because like you said before, that Sundays are the most segregated day of the week. And so one of the initiatives we have is to start with men in the church going around saying, intentionally engage people that are not like you. They've got this thing, matter of fact, this is a good pitch for Oak Ridge Baptist Church there in Conroe. They're having a all-you-can-eat steak night for men.
Come on.
So I'm trying to get all the men I can to
Keto
go.
right away.
All-you-can-eat steak night. That's amazing. Yeah, keto big time. So, and it's an opportunity for us to integrate,
Yeah.
because they had me speak, and of course it wasn't integrated then, but we got to be intentional about that almost everything, because it goes along with what you were saying. If we're going to break down this division, we got to be intentional about it. We can't just think it's going to happen, because it hadn't happened, hundreds of years. It hadn't happened, so we got to make that happen. So that's my number 2. That's got to break down that segregation in the churches.
Yeah.
So I might show up with a bus of like 100 dark-skinned people at your church.
Hey, we would have church. We would.
Well, we got to get back in churches, I guess. Really.
Yeah.
So,
That's
and we
why.
didn't talk about that today, but let's finish this, and maybe we'll have a couple
Sure.
of minutes in to talk about where's the pandemic going. That'll be our last thing.
Okay.
We'll close with that.
Okay. So my last one,
number 3,
is election integrity. We touched on it before, but it was in the area of federalizing the election, where every election is going to. They're pushing that it will be the same across all 50 states. I think we'll see some traction regarding the presidential, but every state kind of wants to do their own thing. I think it's so important to fix it, get it right, and everybody votes in every election exactly the same way. Or then all of a sudden you have states that are affected that voted one way, and then there's some improprieties because of inconsistencies, or at least perceived improprieties. Then all of a sudden there's this infighting between states. And last time we did that a long time ago, that didn't work out so well. So we really need to fix this. And I think that maybe federalizing and really looking at some, and they even mentioned this, because we talked about this before, the national voter ID card that's encrypted, scan it. You can only vote once. If you die, your card's canceled. If you move, it changes districts automatically when you move. So
Yeah, and our best solution though was to put Chick-fil-A in charge of that. Remember, we said
come
put Chick-fil-A,
on.
because if they can get a chicken sandwich without pickles
Or
and all
American
that,
Idol.
you can change that up so you can make some good stuff happen. All right, and my last one is we need more. I want to see more demonstrations of love, not hate. Whether it's social media, personal interaction, we got to start thinking that way. We got to think, what would love be in this situation?
Yeah.
Tell somebody, show some love. We got to do that. All right. So last thing. Pandemic, what's going to happen in 2021? What's your prediction? What's your prophecy? Where are we going?
There's a lot of people that are running towards the vaccine, and there's a lot of people, because of some of the ingredients in the vaccine, they are running away. But the bottom line is, as we allow people to hold themselves more accountable, and they get sick, it's on them. And they're holding themselves, because people don't want their elderly parents to be sick, so they're making good decisions. The more we can get government out of the way of controlling and policing people and letting them call their own shots, which I see a lot of this. We live in more of a culture in our area like this. I think we're going to make some progress. We know that this virus now has mutated again, much more contagious, but it's less deadly. And that's the way all viruses all run that same way. They all run the same way. So I think we're going to be okay, but we still need to be careful. As soon as you get sick, you need to hurry up and get to the doctor and get figured out what your medical protocol is going to be. Everybody's different. So.
Yeah, and the key is take care of your fitness ahead of time.
Yes.
Which means you need to tune into my show tonight, Facebook Live. Go to my Facebook page, Carlin Charleston, and you can check that out. Because if you tune in there, I'll give you some good knowledge, get your body in shape, and when that COVID hits, you'll be like, got it, done it, been there, done that. All right, we had a lot of good stuff we talked about today. We caught up on 2020.
Yeah.
We're heading into 2021. We got a lot of plans to walk this unity thing out. We got to make it happen. Richard and I are going to do that. We got Vince over there. And man, look at this beautiful background. Vince is the man, our producer, director. We're going to be doing some dynamic things. So y'all stay tuned, because we got a lot more happening in 2021. And y'all take care.